Let me just define for those who may not know what life artistry is. Life artistry is about creating in your mind the life that you desire. It's about realizing who you are and then manifesting, creating, and attracting all that you want, all that you desire in the world that you see around you. And so with that being said, I want to actually go ahead and give you one secret, one thing that you can begin to apply to your life today, right this moment. You can begin to apply this to your life and begin to attract, begin to draw the things that you desire, and begin to live even a more balanced life from simple things like controlling your emotions. So I want to give you this simple step about how to program your subconscious. Now, before you throw your hand up and you say, whoa, wait a second, what is that all about? I want you to realize you are actually programming your subconscious every single day. There's not one day that you've been alive on this earth, that you've been experiencing life, that you have not programmed your subconscious. And so with a few simple steps, you can actually begin to program your subconscious and stop sabotaging the things that you desire. Now, I like you, I think I have spent a lot of time over the course of my life going through the motions. And maybe you're not going through the motions. Maybe you are really intent on becoming a better individual or making the life that you've always desired and wanted, making the money that you've always wanted, creating. But maybe it's not working out for you the way that you thought it should, or maybe you haven't accumulated the finances or the resources by this moment that you thought you already should have. Well, I'm going to give you a few steps that you can actually begin to create today. And I'm not talking about creating tomorrow, but you can actually begin to create these things today. And so the very first thing I would ask you is, have you actually ever stopped to think that right now within you, you have the power to create whatever you want? Have you actually stopped and actually thought to yourself, like, what do I really want? What are my desires? Or am I just like the vast majority of the world, waking up, going to work, and then going to sleep at night? Kind of going through those monotonous motion of what people call life. Now, 90%, it's just my math, but probably 90% of human beings alive on the earth are just going through the motions of survival. They haven't yet begun to tap into the creative potential that is within them. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try to accomplish your goals, to achieve your dreams, to accumulate wealth, no matter how hard you go after those things, they seem to evade you? You never seem to really be able to grasp those things. The reason why is very simple. It's called paradoxical intent. And we'll talk more about paradoxical intent in a later email. You'll actually get a later email with information on that. But what we vibrate, the frequency we vibrate at, is the frequency we are going to draw and attract. And this all begins in our consciousness. And then as we become conscious of one thing, we actually learn how to program the subconscious, and the subconscious is where the magic really begins to happen. The subconscious is the reason why you've been working, trying to make it, and yet you seem to keep coming up short. The subconscious is actually hindering the result. The subconscious is actually the problem that you have, because in some way it's been programmed to sabotage the desire of your conscious state of thinking. This is the reason why Jesus said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's vital for us to begin to realize what we consciously think about, what we have in our consciousness, good, bad, or indifferent, we will manifest in this life, we will attract in the world around us. This is vital for us to begin to recognize. Now, everything within your consciousness is a choice. It's something that you're actually choosing, but the subconscious is working purely upon vibration. Subconscious is 100% about vibration and about frequency. And here's the thing about subconscious. The subconscious cannot differentiate between what is real, perceptionally real, and what is imagined. The subconscious cannot differentiate between the two, and therefore, whatever you put in your imagination, if you put it in your imagination long enough, your subconscious will grab a hold of that thing. Maybe you've said things like, I can't do it, I'll just never get it done. But the next day you're going, okay, today I'm going to try to make it, I'm going to really do it. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to bench press 400 pounds or whether you're trying to build that business, whether you're just trying to, overcome an emotional state of sadness. Today I'm going to do it, but the next day it's, I just can't seem to grasp this, I can't get it. So your subconscious is actually receiving divided information continually. And as a result, within it, it's actually picking up and vibrating at the I can't or I won't vibration. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. But this is absolutely important that what you are conscious of, you are going to manifest. And so it begins with a conscious action. You have to actually choose right this second. Choose right now. Don't wait, but choose right in this very moment. This is the only moment that's real. Choose right now to be conscious of what is good, of what is pure, of what is lovely. Be conscious of the things that you have always dreamed of. Be conscious of having and possessing the goals, the things that you've always wanted. So I want you to take a pen right now. I want you to find some paper somewhere. And I actually want you to write down right now. I want you to begin to dream with me. Through the course of this video, I want you to dream with me. And actually, I want you to write down right now one thing, one very specific thing that you want to attract, that you want to draw to yourself. One very specific thing. This is very important. Now, I want you to recognize that that one thing actually may transition through the course of this video because it may not be big enough for your subconscious to really grab a hold of. So your consciousness is where all of our wants are actually taking place. The subconscious is where all the vibrational frequency is really pulsating and attracting, drawing, manifesting. And the body is actually the vehicle through which we do that. As a matter of fact, this is what we would call an aura. And this is what science has actually proven, that your brain has a magnetic field that pulsates outward of up to 3 feet or more. The heart actually has the same magnetic field, or a very similar magnetic field, that can pulsate even further. It can pulsate upwards of 10, 15 feet. And the more conscious, the heart is what we would call subconscious. The more conscious you become of the things that you desire and you impregnate those desires in your subconscious, the greater that aura becomes. If you are very positive thinking, then that aura becomes a very high frequency, a very potent frequency. But if you are conscious of negative things, conscious of lack, conscious of debt, then what you're actually doing is you're actually sabotaging that subconscious, and it'll actually begin to repel the thing that you actually want. For instance, if your goal is to get out of debt, if what you wrote down as your want, as your desire was to get out of debt, I want you to stop right now and I want you to erase that, cross it out. Because as long as you're focused on debt, see, your subconscious just hears debt. And so now your goal or your want is debt. And you could be, I want to get out of debt, and yet it seems like your subconscious is still creating. So you can set your subconscious on getting out of debt all you want, but all you'll actually do is create more debt. Okay, so cross that out. And I want you to write down something, a positive version, not I want to get out of debt, but I want to accumulate. If your debt is $25,000, then I want to accumulate, I'm going to accumulate $100,000 or $1 million. Okay, so write down a positive want, a positive goal. Now, talking about goals, I want to talk to you about three very specific types of goals that people have. And I'm just going to call them A type, B type, and C type just for the sake of this video. An A type goal is something that you've already had in the past. This is something that you created in the past. For instance, you might have somebody might say, well, I want to get a brand new computer. And that is their goal. Their goal for 2019 is to get a brand new computer. Well, you would ask them, well, have you gotten a brand new computer before? And their answer would be, yes, I've gotten a brand new computer before. So an A-type goal for this video is simply a goal you know exactly how to achieve getting that new computer. So it's not much of a goal. I know how to do it. I'm going to do it again. A B-type goal is a reasonable goal. It's like, for instance, a B-type goal would be like saying, well, okay, what I really want is I want to accumulate $100,000. That's a reasonable goal. That's a very reasonable goal. That's not an outlandish goal at all. $100,000 would be something that any and every one of us could actually accumulate over a period of time. And then you have a C-type goal. A C-type goal is kind of the dreamer's goal. It's the Wright brothers' goal. You know, the Wright brothers had the idea that they were going to get the airplanes off the ground into the air. We were going to fly planes through the sky. And everybody thought they were insane. They said, oh, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Now, had the Wright brothers not set an impossible goal and impregnated their subconscious with this burning desire, they would have never achieved getting those planes off the ground. Had the Wright brothers been looking around them at the perceptual universe and allowing the perceptual universe to dictate what is real for them, they would have never gotten the airplanes off the ground. This is really important. I'm going to come back and touch on that in a minute. Goals equal growth. So I want you to understand that when we're talking about goals, we're not talking about who you truly are. Who you truly are has no need for goals. This is essence. This is divinity. I'm talking about the playground. I'm talking about the perceptual world. I'm talking about the world in which we live that we get to see, feel, taste, touch, smell. That's the perceptual world. And goals are about growing within that perceptual world. That's all goals are for. So your goal, the thing that you wrote down that you want, should absolutely stretch you. It should feel impossible to your conscious thinking. So right now I want you to look at what you wrote down. If what you wrote down on the piece of paper it was what you want, if it doesn't absolutely confound your conscious thinking, stretch your conscious thinking, it's not big enough. I want you to cross it out, and I want you to make it bigger. So if your goal was to accumulate $100,000, I want you to cross that out, and I want you to make it $10 million. We're going to make this goal. This is about dreaming. This is about something that's bigger than what you've ever imagined, something bigger than what you thought was actually possible. I'm talking about something that is actually, when you begin to believe it and you begin to see it and create it, the rest of the world, your family members and friends might look at you and be like, you're a little nuts. You're never going to get that. But you will. You absolutely will if you follow these steps. So now we're going to talk. I want you to recognize that everything that's going on in your mind, even what you're writing out on that paper, is absolutely and vitally important because we're talking about vibration. Now, first thing is science has proven that everything is vibration. Everything is moving. Nothing is at rest. And when I say rest there, I'm just talking about perfectly still. Everything is vibrating and moving in some capacity, in some way. And so the camera that I'm actually recording onto in this video, for this video, is actually no different than your phone or even the flesh that is your hand, your body. Everything is a vibrational frequency, a different vibrational frequency, but still a vibrational frequency. And these vibrational frequencies that you see in front of you, like the camera or like your telephone, your iPhone, your phone, these things actually came from somewhere. Where did these things come from? Where did these gadgets, this technology come from? This technology came from the mind. The ability to actually take a picture and then send that picture instantaneously across the world, around the world, was an idea. It started as an idea in someone's mind. And I'm going to tell you right now that that idea actually sent that individual to a mental institution because all of his friends and families thought this man was insane. Now, I want you to recognize right now, this is the kind of want, the kind of dream that you need to begin to consciously want so that we can actually program it into the subconscious to begin to attract it and draw it without sabotaging it. Everything is moving. And like frequency attracts like frequency. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of the bridge, the suspension bridge collapses that have happened. Now, engineers have had to change the way suspension bridges were designed because of these collapses. What would happen was a storm would come through or high winds would come through, and on the cables that held the suspension bridge in the air, one cable would begin to vibrate at a very specific frequency. Now, at a very high frequency, and all the other cables would begin to align with that frequency because it will always come up to that high frequency. And as it would align with that frequency, when the alignment of those frequencies took place, now all that steel and all the concrete and all the substances that was that bridge actually began to move like this. You can actually go on Google and you can look up videos about this. It's wild to see, man. And the bridges were actually moving like this because this is the power of frequency. You wouldn't think that concrete and steel could move in such a way, but when the frequency changes and shifts of that material, the material actually changed and shifted, and then it would collapse. Well, in a very similar way, when you learn how to hone the frequency that is your body and that is your brain, you learn how to hone in on that and you can actually begin to create and draw and attract very similar frequency to yourself. Like energy attracts like energy. And again, I want to say this, that if you are wanting one thing in your consciousness, but you're divided, your subconscious has been programmed to sabotage that because in some way you've thought about, for instance, finances. Use this as an example. You want to create finances, you want to create wealth for yourself, but your subconscious has been programmed from your entire past because all of your past has been spent around individuals that have a poverty mindset. And those individuals, including yourself with a poverty mindset, has actually programmed your subconscious to think in terms of lack instead of wealth, to think in terms of debt instead of wealth. Now, here's what's actually taking place. What's taking place is you can consciously want this thing all you want, but your subconscious is actually sabotaging that. This is what Jesus called a divided kingdom. And he said a divided kingdom will not stand. We need to begin to understand that like energy attracts like energy, and we want our entire kingdom, our conscious, our subconscious, and our body, which is the vehicle for our consciousness and subconsciousness. We want those three things to be aligned in the same frequency, okay? Now recognize this. This is another thing that's important to recognize. You need to recognize what is real and what is perceptional. The perceptional world that you see around you, the thing that you wrote down that you wanted to create, it's a perceptional thing probably. Unless you wrote down joy or happiness or something along those lines, it's a perceptional thing. It's an impermanent thing that you decided you wanted to draw or attract. If it was money, it's impermanent. It's perceptional. It's illusionary. And so we need to begin to recognize that is actually not the real world. All of those things that you actually desire to create and that you actually desire, they're actually coming from here, the real world. The real world is within you. So everything that you have need of to create whatever it is, your wildest imagination, your wildest dreams is within you because that is actually the real world. And it's vital for us to understand this. If you let a report card determine what kind of student you are, well, then you're always going to be moved by the report card. You get straight A's, you feel like you're a great student. You get an F thrown in there, a couple C's, a couple B's, and a D. Now all of a sudden you feel like you're a poor student. So you've allowed the perceptional world to actually dictate what kind of student you want to be. But isn't what kind of student you are determined by how you think about yourself? Isn't the kind of student that you are determined by what you think of yourself in your heart? So we need to change the way we think and stop allowing the perceptional universe to actually dictate to us what is real. We have to stop allowing that. The perceptual universe does not define you, but what you think in your heart absolutely does. So here's how we begin to impregnate. This is what you've waited for. Here's how we begin to impregnate the subconscious. Everything begins in your mind. As a life artist, what you need to begin to recognize, and what you'll learn in the Life Artistry School, if you choose to do it with us this summer, is you're actually going to begin to learn that this mind of yours, what's actually taking place in the mind, not the brain, but the mind. This is a different thing. I'm pointing at my head, but it's a different thing. What is actually taking place is this is your canvas. Your mind is your canvas, and it's the palette on which all your paints are, or whatever, however you want to create. Now we're going to use this mind and create exactly what we want in detail fashion. What we want, we're going to create it right here, and this is real. What's going on right here is real. And then we're going to begin to actually draw, attract, and create that thing that we see, that we visualize here, into the world around us. This begins with this. First, recognizing everything begins in your mind. Secondly, you must know exactly what you want. Be specific, be detailed as possible, and then allow that thing to actually progressively grow in detail and in specificity, because this is absolutely vital that you are detailed, because your imagination and your subconscious need that detail and needs very specific. So don't just say, I want a bunch of money. Be very specific. How much money do you want to attract? How much money do you want to earn? So we're building the dream in our mind. Your wildest dreams are being built right in your mind. Don't let the lack that you've experienced in the past keep you from creating the life that you've always desired. It begins right now, right here. So after knowing what you want and being very specific in your mind, detailed, you want to actually begin to draw that or create that on the canvas that is your mind. In other words, you want to visualize it. You want to use your imagination to perfectly visualize that thing that you want. Now, again, this is all consciousness. This is all in the place of consciousness. You're playing in the realm of consciousness instead of going through the motions like 90% of the world is doing. Now you're being very specific. You're being a part of that top 10% where you're actually wanting to begin to create instead of just go through the monotonous motions of existence. So now I'm visualizing it. So I want you to look at the piece of paper that you wrote your dream on, or that you wrote your want on, and I want you to visualize that. And the best way that you can visualize that, and continue to practice visualizing that. Step 2, feel it. Once you are able to see it, it's real. The moment you can visualize it, you can truly see it, it's real. I don't care whether you're an athlete wanting to make that game-winning shot, or you're wanting to build the business, a huge business, or that you've always desired, or whether you're wanting to attract $1 million or $10 billion. This is the thing. You need to not only be able to visualize it. As soon as you visualize it, it's real, but you need to be able to feel it. The athlete needs to not only see the game-winning shot going through the hoop, but he also needs to feel emotions that are connected to that visualization. Because when the emotions are connected with what your imagination sees, now the subconscious really begins to get active. I want you to consider this. How many times did you feel something emotional because of what somebody has done? Now somebody did something, and as soon as you had the thought about what they did, the thought didn't first define you, but when you begin to feel the emotions of it, it felt really real. Now, you can deceive yourself all day long in this way, in a negative way, or you can begin to play and create within this. Emotions are a massive, an enormous tool on your tool belt of creative design. So we're going to see it, visualize it, and then we're going to feel it. Get your emotions involved. And listen, here's the last thing. Here's the last step. I want you to begin to practice the power of affirmation. See, neural pathways in your mind are actually programmed by repetition. This is the reason why you have addictive behaviors. This is the reason why you have certain habits that you go through every single day. This is the reason why when you first began to drive or you first drove from your location to your workplace, that you actually had to be very consciously involved in the driving process. You had to be very aware of driving from point A to point B. But after you did it 100 times, now you can make that drive, and oftentimes you don't even remember any of the details behind making the drive. It's as if you can turn your consciousness off. You don't have to be aware of the drive at all. You could be doing all kinds of other things, daydreaming, responding to emails. You shouldn't do that, but like me, maybe responding to emails while you make that drive. And because you've made that drive 100 times before, it's seared in the subconscious. It's your neural pathways have been programmed to be able to make that drive effortlessly. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually program in your subconscious, we're going to sear in your subconscious that thing that you want is going to be seared here so that you are continually creating out of that space. So what you want to do is you want to simply create a routine. This is the last step, create a routine. Write down the thing that you want, and then I want you to get very specific. This is what I want, and this is the very specific time in which I'm going to create it. I'm going to create this or attract this at this time, by this date. And you're going to write that down, and then you're going to set up a routine. Every single morning, along with your morning routine, you're going to out loud say it. See it first. Say the affirmation secondly, while simultaneously feeling the emotions that are connected to that affirmation. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do that in the morning and you're going to do that at night until it's memorized. Every morning and every night you're going to say this thing. And then after about 4 weeks of saying it, your subconscious, if you do exactly what I said, your subconscious will begin to be programmed in this way. And you will actually reprogram thinking that is lack-centered, and you actually program now a wealth-based consciousness. Listen, guys, I hope this helps. Practice these things. Do these things in the exact way that I said. We hope you enjoyed this. And listen, I hope you would also join us this summer for the Life Artistry School. The Life Artistry School is going to be 3 months of impactful, life-changing teaching, revelation, enlightenment. You are not going to want to miss it. So get in on this summer school. If you want to register, get in now. Go to ecstasisculture.org. There's a link there to register. And also be on the lookout for the next email. We'll be sending you another email very soon with another short video and other steps that you can begin to practice, and you'll be well on your way to creating the life of your dreams. Thanks for watching.